So here's a little interesting project for you today. A customer came to us and said, I really want a bike, here's my budget. Our budget was super tight and we really couldn't help because there's so much stuff on the internet right now, absolutely amazing prices. So what we did, we sat down with our customer, talked through a load of options, and we went shopping on the internet with our customer and talking through the various geometry and the specs. And we found this absolutely fantastic deal. This was 1,800 quid, just under. Found an extra discount code for Start Fitness. Like, we couldn't get anywhere close to that price. That is below trade prices at any stretch. So I don't know how they're doing it, but it arrived here. The customer was happy to pay for our time to get into this point and asked us to check the bike over. That's what we've done. We've unpacked it, and I have to say, the Start Fitness has done a pretty good job. First of all, what is quite rare is that they normally send it in the box that it gets delivered in. Start Fitness have actually built it, taken the original box with all the serial numbers, popped it on the inside of the box here, and then repacked it, pretty much ready to go. All we had to do to make it safe to ride was to attach the handlebars, and that was it. It was pretty much ready to go. In here, there's like a little PDI form as well, where a mechanic has gone through and ticked everything for safety, signed their name to it. It's always nice to see a mechanic taking responsibility. But there are a few little issues. It didn't take me long to uncover them, really. The first one is they seem to be, luckily, not using loads and loads and loads of white lithium grease. Instead, they're using copper compound, and they've used it on here on the seat post, which aluminium, carbon, and copper, not a great combination. What makes it disappointing is that BMC obviously supplied the right fibre grip in the box, but the mechanic just chose not to use it and just opted for the easy option there. The other disappointing thing is the headset is completely dry. So just lifted this up just to check this has been greased, and in here, just absolutely bone dry. So that's really disappointing. And then the bottom bracket, this is an interesting one. When we talked to our customer, it's not a full 105 group set. You've got to look for that when you're doing this, because this is a Praxis Crankset and a Praxis bottom bracket. The bottom bracket from Praxis is actually very, very good quality, but the crankset here is remarkably heavy, and they've just done this to save a bit of money, I guess. The sad thing is that you can tell straight away that this has not been faced, because you can look down and you can see a gap. I'm going to show you with the feeler gauges on some B-roll.
And then around here, so this part here is a tight fit, not going in, and here there's a big gap.
But this is a 0.05 micron, you can see the gap, and I can easily slide that in. So really, this is probably not something that Start Fitness would have done. This is something that the BMC mechanic should have done, was to face those surfaces off, get rid of all that paint, and then install the bottom bracket. We're going to do that for our customer because we want this to be perfect. The consequences of not doing it, that is enough movement for that to start creaking, and nobody wants a creaky bike. The buying process seemed pretty slick. It arrived, and if you brought one from Start Fitness, I'm pretty confident that you would get something that was safe to ride, but maybe further down the line you might have some issues with things creaking or rusting or seizing up, which could have been avoided with a little bit more care and attention at the build phase. We all want to know, what does this weigh? Let's take a look. This is a size 51. What have we got? 9.1. Awesome. So I've taken the bottom bracket out to have a closer look. The first couple of threads are a little bit notchy, but you can see how they've painted this. They've screwed something into the bottom bracket and then sprayed it and then unscrewed it. So we've actually got some little paint ingress here, and that's what's stopping a nice flush fit. So I'm going to take all that paint back and get it back nice and flat. All cleaned up. This is how it should look. Absolute mirror finish, perfectly smooth, no rough edges, and that bottom bracket will fit against there absolutely perfectly. And just cleaned up those first few threads as well, got rid of some of the swarf. That is how it should look like. So really this sort of problem should be picked up at the BMC factory as it comes out of the paint shop. So someone in their final QC should have noticed this, faced it off, removed that excess paint. But also I think the mechanic at Starter Fitness should have looked at that bottom bracket and seen the gap. The gap was obvious to the naked eye and noted it as a fault and then asked permission to correct it before it went to a customer. That's how it should have happened. It shouldn't require a bike shop now having to do the work. Most customers probably wouldn't notice until they start noticing bottom brackets wearing out prematurely or things starting to creak. So we're a bit different. We like to try and preempt any problems as opposed to deal with them when they come up, but sadly not every bike shop works the same way as us. Bottom bracket installed in, and you can see a perfectly flush fit. You don't even need the feeler gauges anymore. You can see that it's absolutely flat. And on both sides, that is how your bottom bracket should look. Headset seats look surprisingly clean actually, but not a drop of grease anywhere to be seen around here. Nice looking fork on this BMC. These brake mounts look pretty nice. Shame about all the paint inside the axle facings here, but we can clear that out with a scalpel, scrape that back to a nice clean surface. But hey, at least those bits are clean. So here is our little BMC TeamMachine ALR. This is the aluminium version, all ready for our customer. Remember, brought from Starter Fitness. We had to do a little bit of alteration work. We've sorted that bottom bracket out, so that should be now a creak-free, smooth experience for the lifetime of this frame. Really happy with that. Put the right grease in the seat post. We've also cut down the steerer, slightly shorter stem. It's quite a long bike, is the TeamMachine, especially for small people. So watch out for that. Slightly narrower handlebar as well. And of course, we're fitted the fast forward Ryot. These are the 33 models. Now the reason we've done this, one, to cut a bit of weight out, but mostly to make this bike into a really confidence inspiring ride. And these fast forwards, above everything else, are just a really confident feeling wheel. Now we've wrapped these up with the Pirelli Race TLRs, the new 4 seasons. This is a fairly new tyre from Pirelli. I have much to say about it right now. We've given our customer a killer discount on these because we really want her feedback on them. She does a lot of miles, and there's this one person that's going to give us feedback on how well these tyres hold up. It's going to be this rider. The 105 group set is absolutely solid choice. To give you an idea of what this bike is going to be doing, this is going to be travelling all over Europe, doing big alpine passes, but with big sort of frame bags and mat boards, and it's going to get loaded up. It's going to get used and abused all weathers on some massive adventures. And aluminium is a great frame choice for that because you can just strap things to the frame without worrying about it too much. The handling of this bike is phenomenally good. The general sort of stiffness, you can really stamp on this and it feels like a really solid frame. You can really lean on these handlebars and just look how solid that is. Absolutely fantastic. And that's a carbon fork and a carbon steerer. I think this is going to be a really confidence inspiring, solid choice. A little bit on the heavy side for aluminium, but as it looks now, this is 8.8 kilograms. You could arguably lose a few 100 grams on the crankset, but other than that, this is about as light as it comes, but still maintaining its durability purpose. So yeah, on the whole, as far as aluminium frames go, and there's not a lot of choice on the market right now, build quality issues aside, which any bike shop should sort out, quite impressed with this little bike. What do you reckon?